article says Iranian crown prince urges uprising against collapsing regime. Reza Pahlavi, the exiled son of the last Shah of Iran, urged the country's security forces and state employees to rise up against the Islamic regime whose fall has begun in an address to the Iranian nation on Tuesday. My fellow countrymen, the Islamic Republic has reached its end and is in the process of collapsing, Pahlavi said in remarks in Farsi that were posted on his social media channels. Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, like a frightened rat, has gone into hiding underground and has lost control, he stated. According to the Crown Prince, the end of the Islamic Republic is the end of the 46-year war against the Iranian nation that started in 1979. All it takes now is a nationwide uprising to put an end to this nightmare once and for all, he continued. Now is the time to rise and reclaim Iran. So the Shah, if I understand correctly, it says he is the I'll just wait. So my understanding is that Iran used to be a at least somewhat secular country. They weren't always a hotbed of religious fanaticism. Government, because they wanted to nationalize the oil profits or whatever. They wanted to nationalize the oil production and then spread out the profits amongst the citizenry. And American interests were like, no, we don't want to do that. The homeboy, that's not going to make us money. We want to make money. And so ExxonMobil and all the companies that the America is beholden to, they came in and overthrew the government and put in a stooge. Well, that stooge eventually got overthrown and then a theocratic religious fanaticism government took its place. Then I would imagine that at least there's still some amount of sentiment within the country to become that. So this doesn't seem like This is not ahistorical. This is historical. This lines up with my understanding of historical events within Iran and the United States and whatnot. All it takes now is a nationwide uprising to put an end to this nightmare once and for all, he continued. Now is the time to rise and reclaim Iran. Pahlavi noted that he prepared a 100-day transition plan for establishing democratic rule by the Iranian people and for the Iranian people. Play a historic role in the transition from the Islamic Republic and take part in building the future of Iran. In theory, in a vacuum, this sounds amazing, right? This addresses so many of the problems that I have with this situation, right? With the fact that Iran is a very unsavory theocracy, and to that extent, to the extent that theocracy is bad and is antithetical with our modern interpretation of humanism, of philosophy, and whatnot, that it needs to be completely rooted out. Ideally, completely rooted out from the human experience. We don't need I would argue we don't need religion at all, but we don't need religious fanaticism and theocracy in this sort of way, especially in such a way that restricts people and causes people to martyr themselves in the way that modern Islam does. And so in a vacuum, I'm cool with this, and I'm all hands on board. But really, this is just like a really nice way to present regime change, right? This is just regime change with some dressing on top. This is a very well-made regime change, but it's still regime change, right? A polished turd is still a turd. And so I'm still like, as much as everything I've read so far in this article, and I'm on board with getting rid of theocracy and replacing it with democracy and blah, 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 it will still ultimately be seen as regime change, both externally and internally. And I would imagine that we would see similar results from other types of regime change. I think this sort of change is conceivable, but I think it would need to happen organically, right? And I don't think it being prompted by this attack from Israel is organic enough, right? You would still have so many people. So like, let's say you did this, you overthrew the government, and then you took this dude at his word and put him in place, and it's like, all right, dude, start making your government. You're still going to you may have some people that support it, but you're still going to have so many people, so many patriots inside Iran that are just upset at Israel for doing this, that they are going to see it as like a Israeli stooge. They're not going to. It's not going to be organic, and they're never going to get behind it. Their patriotism is going to like overshadow their ability to their desire for a democracy or a not having a theocracy or whatever. Well, I know that Iran can be great again. It was a great civilization, and this theological thuggery that has kidnapped your country will not stand for long, and you are the future, not them, Netanyahu said in a conversation with anchor Poria Zarati. These dictators in Iran, sure, they fear us, but they fear you, the people of Iran, even more, Netanyahu said. They understand that 80% of Iranians despise them. Okay, so this 80% of Iranians despise the government. That wouldn't surprise me at all, but also like in the exact same way that you go about doing that survey, I would imagine you would get similar results in a lot of places that are much better than Iran, right? I think in general people are predisposed to focus more on the negative, and to, especially when it comes to power structures and authoritarianism and things that are well above their head and things that they don't have the ability to affect, but like are imposed upon them and they have to deal with. I would imagine that you would see a similar sentiment in many other countries, and that this may be just a natural human predisposition. It's not unique to Iran's badness or something. Sunday, Netanyahu said that regime change could certainly be the result of the campaign in Iran. So interesting. So we'll see if I have severely mixed feelings about this. I think this is one of those cases where, in theory, this is great, but in practical terms, it's just not going to be viable. It's not going to work. Only time will tell. I think we are very much on a path towards regime change, and the Islamic Republic, Iran as we know it, collapsing, and something else taking its place. I don't know what, whether that be an Israel/US installed puppet government, or the Iranian crown prince manages to get a democratic democratic Iran up and running. Whatever it may be, we will see very soon. I think maybe in the next couple of days. If this wasn't all just chest puffing from from the Iranian leaders in Israel and the United States, then we might actually see some shit go down tomorrow or Friday. Thursday or Friday. Thursday, June 19th, or Friday, June 20th.